All right, let's dive straight in. We're looking today at Exodus chapter 26. And this chapter is just packed with this incredibly specific blueprint.
Yeah, it really is. It's like step-by-step instructions for building something sacred, something really important.
Exactly. So our mission really is just to unpack this chapter, figure out this divine plan they've laid out.
It's fascinating because it's not just what to build, but exactly how. Materials, measurements, how things connect. It's all there, like reading the architect's notes.
Right. Okay. So where the notes start, it seems to be with the innermost part, the main tent fabric, 10 curtains.
10 curtains, yeah. Made of finely twisted linen and woven with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn.
Wow. Okay. So right away, that sounds rich, expensive.
Definitely. Fine linen wasn't cheap, and those dyes, blue, purple, scarlet, were costly. Signals something special from the get-go.
And it wasn't just plain colored fabric either, was it?
No. The text says cherubim were actually worked into the curtains.
Cherubim, like angelic figures, guardians.
Something like that, yeah. Associated with God's presence. And it specifically mentions a skilled craftsman doing this work.
Suggests real artistry, real intention there. And the size.
Very precise. All 10 curtains exactly the same.
Right.
28 cubits long, 4 cubits wide.
Okay, 28 by 4. Uniformity seems key. How did they manage curtains that big?
They divided them. 5 curtains were joined together to make one big piece, and the other 5 were joined to make a second big piece.
Got it. So 2 large panels, basically, covered in cherubim.
Yeah.
How do those 2 panels connect to form the whole inner tent?
This is where it gets really specific again. Along the edge of the last curtain in one set, they put 50 loops, blue loops.
Okay.
And then on the edge of the last curtain in the other set, another 50 blue loops positioned exactly opposite the first set.
Loops facing loops. What held them together?
50 gold clasps.
Gold. Yeah.
Gold clasps, hooking the loops together, fastening the 2 sets into one single structure. The text actually calls it a unit.
A unit. Joined with gold. That definitely emphasizes the value of this inner layer. Okay, so that's the absolute core. What came next? Another layer of curtains.
Yes, exactly. A second set, described as the tent over the tabernacle. This one was made of 11 curtains of goat hair.
Goat hair? Huh.
Yeah.
That sounds different. More practical, maybe.
Probably. Likely darker, maybe tougher, providing a good solid covering over the fancy linen layer.
And the size of these?
Also specified, all 11 were 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide.
30 cubits. Wait, that's longer than the inner ones. The linen ones were 28.
Good catch. Yes, 2 cubits longer. That seems intentional.
How are these joined together? Same way?
Similar principle. Divided into sets. 5 curtains joined together and the other 6 joined together.
Hold on. 5 and 6. The inner ones were 5 and 5. Why the difference here?
The text gives us a clue. It says the 6th curtain in that larger set was folded double right at the front of the tent.
Folded double at the front.
Yeah, seems that extra curtain, or part of it, was designed to create that fold, maybe related to the entrance or just how it draped.
Interesting. And the clasps for these goat hair curtains, gold again, like the inner ones.
Nope, another difference. Here, the text specifies 50 bronze clasps.
Bronze. Okay, so gold for the inner, most sacred layer. Bronze for this outer tent layer.
Yeah.
A hierarchy of materials.
Exactly. Seems deliberate.
What about that extra length, the 30 cubits versus the 28? How did that work out?
Well, that 6th curtain that was folded double at the front, the text says the extra half curtain length actually hung down at the rear of the tabernacle.
So the fold is at the front, but the overhang ends up at the back.
Seems so. And the rest of the extra length, remember they were 30 cubits long, the inner one's 28. That extra cubit on each side just hung down over the sides of the frame.
Providing more coverage for the structure underneath. Makes sense. Okay, so inner linen with cherubim, outer goat hair tent. Were there more coverings on top of that?
Yes, 2 more layers. First, over the goat hair, a covering of ram skins dyed red.
Red ram skins. Okay, another layer of protection. Maybe add some color too.
And then finally, the outermost layer, hides of sea cows.
Sea cows. That sounds tough, like really heavy-duty weatherproof stuff.
That's probably the idea, the ultimate protective layer against the elements. So you've got 4 distinct layers in total.
Incredible. Fine linen, goat hair, red ram skins, sea cow hides. But these coverings needed something to hang on, right? A frame.
Absolutely. And the chapter gets just as detailed about the structure itself. The upright frames were made of acacia wood.
Acacia wood, known for being hard, durable, good for something portable.
Exactly. And the dimensions were precise. 10 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide.
So maybe 15 feet tall, a couple of feet wide,
Right.
roughly. And they weren't just flat planks.
No, there's a key detail. Each frame had two projections, sometimes called tenons, set parallel to each other. These fit into bases.
Bases. What were the bases made of?
Silver.
Silver.
Okay. Yeah. For the south side, there were 20 frames. And they needed 40 silver bases, two bases for each frame, holding those two projections.
40 silver bases just for one side. Wow. Secure footing. Was the north side the same?
Identical. 20 frames for the north, 40 silver bases, two per frame.
Okay, 20 north, 20 south. That's the long walls. What about the back wall, the west end?
For the west end, 6 frames were specified.
6 regular frames.
But then it adds 2 more frames specifically for the corners at that far end.
Corner frames. Built differently.
Yes, the text says these corner frames were special. They were double from the bottom all the way to the top, and they fitted into a single ring at the top.
Double thickness, joined at the top. Sounds like extra reinforcement for the corners.
Exactly. So the whole west end structure was 6 standard frames plus these 2 special corner ones, making 8 frames total back there.
8 frames at the west end, and the bases. Still silver.
Still silver. 16 silver bases for the 8 frames, 2 under each one, just like the sides.
Okay, so we've got this framework of acacia wood standing in silver sockets. How did they keep it all stable horizontally? What held the frames together?
Crossbars. Also made of acacia wood.
Makes sense. How many?
5 crossbars for the south side frames, 5 for the north side, and 5 for the west end frames.
5 bars running along each section. Any particular one stand out?
Yes, the middle one. The text highlights the central crossbar, saying it extended from end to end at the middle of the frames.
Ah, like a main connecting rod running the whole length.
Pretty much. Sounds like a key piece for stability, tying everything together.
Now, this acacia wood, the frames, the crossbars, were they just plain wood?
Oh, no. The frames were overlaid with gold.
The wood frames are covered in gold.
Yes. And they made gold rings, attached them to the frames to hold the crossbars.
Okay.
And the crossbars themselves, also overlaid with gold.
Wow. So the entire structure holding up the curtains,
Yeah.
gold. Even the hidden framework, that's incredible.
It really is. And right after describing all this gold overlay, the text repeats that command. Set up the tabernacle according to the plans shown you on the mountain.
Like a reminder, this wasn't just decoration. This level of detail, the gold, it was all part of the specific divine instruction.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the layers of coverings, the gold-clad structure. But the inside wasn't just one big room, right? There was a division.
Correct. A very important internal division created by a special curtain, often called the veil.
The veil. What was it made of?
Blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen.
Wait, that sounds familiar.
It should. It's the exact same combination of materials as the innermost tabernacle curtains, the ones with the cherubim.
Okay, same materials. What about the design?
Same design, too. Cherubim worked into it by a skilled craftsman, identical to those inner curtains.
So the veil separating the inner space used the same holy fabric and design as the innermost layer of the tent itself. That connection feels really significant. How's it hung?
It was hung using gold hooks on 4 posts. These posts were acacia wood overlaid with gold.
Matching the main frames.
Right. And these 4 posts stood on 4 silver bases.
4 gold posts, 4 silver bases, gold hooks, holding this cherubim veil and its purpose.
To separate the holy place from the most holy place, the text says it hung down from the clasps, presumably those gold clasps joining the inner linen curtains. That's where the boundary was drawn.
So the veil hangs right where the holiest curtains meet, creating these 2 distinct zones. And behind the veil, in the most holy place.
That's where the Ark of the Testimony was placed, with the atonement cover on top. The most sacred object in the most sacred space, shielded by this veil.
Okay. And what about furniture outside the veil, in the holy place?
That's specified too, relative to the veil. The table, probably for the bread of the presence, was placed outside the curtain on the north side of the tabernacle.
Table on the north side, and the lampstand?
Opposite the table, on the south side of the holy place.
So, table north, lampstand south, flanking the path towards the veil and the ark.
Got it. One more curtain mentioned, right? The entrance to the whole tent.
Yes, the entrance curtain for the tent itself.
Same materials again. Blue, purple, scarlet, fine linen.
Yes, the same rich materials. But there's a slight difference noted in the craftsmanship. This entrance curtain was the work of an embroiderer.
An embroiderer? The inner curtains and the veil were by a skilled craftsman. Is that distinction important?
It's fascinating, isn't it? It could suggest a different technique, maybe more surface decoration rather than figures woven right in like the cherubim,
Yeah.
perhaps less symbolically heavy than the cherubim designs inside, or just a different skill set for the entrance. It subtly marks it as different from the inner sanctum's barriers.
Interesting nuance. How is this curtain supported?
Also with gold hooks, like the inner veil. But this one hung on 5 posts of acacia wood overlaid with gold.
5 posts. The inner veil had 4.
Correct. And another key difference. The bases for these 5 entrance posts were made of bronze. Bronze bases for the entrance posts, but silver bases for the inner veil posts.
Exactly. 5 gold overlaid posts on bronze bases at the entrance versus 4 gold overlaid posts on silver bases separating the most holy place. Even the number of posts and the metal of their bases seems graded according to holiness.
It really does. Bronze at the entrance, silver closer in, gold for the direct connections and overlays.
Every single detail seems carefully chosen and placed.
Wow. Okay, unpacking Exodus 26, it's just, the level of detail is stunning. You've got the layers, linen, goat hair, ram skin, sea cow hide, the structure, gold-covered acacia wood, silver bases, the connections, gold clasps, bronze clasps, gold rings, that central crossbar, the internal division, the cherubim veil on gold posts and silver bases, the furniture placement, the entrance curtain on its 5 posts and bronze bases.
Nothing seems accidental. Dimensions, materials, counts, connections, even who makes it and how overhangs work. It's all laid out.
And that hierarchy of materials really stands out, doesn't it? Gold for the most sacred connections and surfaces, silver for the foundations near the holy, bronze for the outer layers and entrance foundations, plus the different craft styles noted.
It forces you to think beyond just building a tent. It's about symbolism, value, meaning, built right into the structure.
So, for you listening, as you think about this incredibly specific blueprint, the materials, the measurements, the numbers, this clear hierarchy from gold down to bronze, depending on proximity to the center, what might this intense detail tell us about how this sacred space was valued, and maybe even about the one who gave these instructions?
Yeah, it's clearly about more than just function. It's about reflecting something profound in the form itself.
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the intricate architecture of Exodus 26.